Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome to Daily Dose Radio. This is our anniversary week, and we're celebrating this week with fresh and organic Bible study, just like we have for the last 2 years. The 20th of March is our actual birth date, because that'll be the day that 2 years ago we broadcast our first podcast over Spreaker.com. And we're grateful to Spreaker and to all the good folks there that have helped us over the years, and to all the different platforms and sites where we're found now. We just added Clamor this past week, so we're just really happy to be on Clamor, on SoundCloud, and others. And for 2 years now, we've been studying the Psalms verse by verse, and today will be our 518th broadcast. So we've been listening if you've been listening for 2 years, you've been listening over 518 different episodes of Daily Dose Radio as we've gone through the Psalms verse by verse. And so our verses today come from Psalm 84. We're going to look at verses 9 and 10. Behold, O God, our shield, and look upon the face of thine anointed. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. I had rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. So we have now again, the Lord's name is invoked here, not the tetragrammaton, but O God is used. And we've seen that several times. Back in verse 2, the living God was used. Now that was only a one-time occurrence of the word that's translated God, El. So that's used once as the living God. We've seen my God used once there in verse 3. Before God in verse 7. O God of Jacob there in verse 8. And here, O God our shield is used. A beautiful idea, and one that comes straight out of the Davidic Psalter, God being a shield and refuge for his people. I mean, this can take us right back to David's great confession. Remember, now that's one, there are certain moments in the Psalter that we have to always remember. Psalm 1, the blessed man. We really follow the blessed man throughout the Psalter. Psalm 18, David's great confession, which is repeated throughout the Psalter over and over again. We have references, tacit and otherwise, that go back to Psalm 18. Psalm 10, which is the textbook description of the wicked. So if you want to know who the wicked are, look back at Psalm 10 and then begin building your definition as the wicked are described from Psalm 10 all the way through the Psalter. So those are some of those moments in the Psalter, the high points, really, moments of instruction that we need to keep in the front of our mind. God our shield is a tacit reference, I think, going back to Psalm 18, but it's also a beautiful description of God and his person. Look upon the face of thine anointed, the anointed there being the Messiah. That's actually the word that's used here, the anointed one. To look upon, the idea here is not just to see. They could have used the word to see, but they didn't. They used the word to show regard to. So there's favor in the look, to show favor to or to show regard to your anointed. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. Isn't that beautiful? Now remember, we talked about the sparrow who built her nest in the altars of God. Now we come here to verse 10, and he says, I'd like to be a doorkeeper. It's better to be a doorkeeper, just to open and close the doors, than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. We go back to verse 1 now. How lovely are thy habitations, than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. So there's this contrast now that's set up between the beginning of the psalm and the end of the psalm. Where is it that you live? Do you live in a lovely habitation because the Lord is there, or do you live in a dwelling or a habitation of wickedness because the Lord is not there? You see, the desire of the psalmist is to be near him. Let me be near to my God. He is the one who keeps me and answers my prayer. He is the one who sends his Messiah. He is the one that blesses me and shields me. He is the one that listens when I make my request. Where do you dwell? I hope you'll join me again tomorrow on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.